Times may have changed, and so have the weapons and the enemy. But courage and bravery runs in their blood, forever embedded within them, like mountains pegged in the dark sunburnt ground. They're a belief-driven band of people who are unaffected by the changing circumstances. This is not an old legend, myth, or told tale. This is the reality and historical fact. The fuel of furious battle of time only have one winner. Who holds his ground, stands tall amongst crumbled cookies and fallen giants, with the solid courage and conviction. Led by a man who's not commonly known, not to his friends or foes. However, his courageous fighting skills and devastation caused by him and his men is written all over the battlefield.
The ferocity and skill of the Mujahideen combined with the rise of Mikhail Gorbachev to produce a watershed event.
The last of Russia's regular army invasion force is out. The retreat of Soviet military power from Afghanistan is complete.
Mullah Omar, the leader of Taliban, who's also known as a leader of believers, mountain warriors, elusive but full of courage. Their centuries-old tradition of bravery and loyalty to the land and people was still in their blood. His existence is only proven through the losses and inflection upon his enemies. Mullah Omar, simple man who defeated complicated agendas, never learned the word defeat by his teachers or neither taught his students. He was a replica of old ancient fighting spirit. Simple stone-constructed hut was his residence. He led his warriors through toughest of times and greatest of the battles, and was being pitched against most powerful armies of their times. He stood by his words and stuck to principles, even though entire world was there to challenge him. Soon after taking over the majority of land, he established pure Islamic Caliphate. His era of rule was the most peaceful and just period ever experienced by Afghan public, especially in the past few centuries. Justice was delivered swiftly and according to Islamic jurisprudence. And it brought about the society where everyone felt safe. Since intoxication and narcotics are totally forbidden in Islam, they got rid of narcotics and drug lords, destroying the opium crops and banning its cultivation. After a tough struggle, finally Afghanistan was a drug-free country. Their strict adherence to Islamic laws introduced strict Islamic punishments, which resulted in free peaceful society where no one steal, murder or rape. A young lady in her Islamic attire could walk without any threat from country's one end to another, without anyone raising an eye or finger towards them. This man from mountains turned out to be a mountain of a man for his friends and enemies equally. When asked to hand over Osama bin Laden, he replied, "Accused is not guilty till proven. They should forward us the proofs and we'll judge him." In our belief, we do not hand over someone who takes shelter with us even if it costs our lives. Losing our government is no big deal. We'll return back to the mountains we came from and fight. We'll fight till they're defeated.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
It's just a matter of time.
The Rewards for Justice program is offering a reward of up to $10 million for information leading to Mullah Omar's arrest or prosecution.
He lived under their nose. Never once he fled to the neighboring
I
countries.
ordered an additional 30,000 American troops into Afghanistan.
That's because the Taliban are now in control of more of Afghanistan since
Taliban on the
2001.
march as coalition forces
As we've
leave.
seen, the Taliban are very far from being a spent force. But whether coalition forces leave Afghanistan with, in any sense, mission accomplished.
The document showed that high-ranking US officials believed that the war in Afghanistan was unwinnable, yet continuously misled the American public.
Pleased with the progress being made.
We are on track to achieve our goals.
Great progress is being made.
U.S. defense officials in Afghanistan say that large U.S. and NATO troops have now left the background. Biden has promised that all American troops will leave Afghanistan by September the 11th.
Wealth and power brings the state of intoxication in which wisest of the nations can turn into most ignorant and blind enough to not take heed from the history, which is there to learn the lessons from. Afghanistan has undisputed history which goes back centuries. Many nations came, attacked and put their best efforts to conquer. But each of them fled disgraced and defeated. And United States of America is not any different.
We know that true peace will only be achieved when we give the Afghan people the means to achieve their own aspirations.
Whatever that meant, the Allies would spend another 2 decades and $2 trillion trying to achieve. But in terms of what happened in Afghanistan, was it a mistake to take on nation building, to expand that mission outwards?
It certainly was a risky proposition, and you could call it a mistake. Call it a mistake. Call it a mistake.
It's a failure. It's a failure. I mean, it's a terrible cost in human life and masses of money spent that hasn't brought a beneficial outcome for the people of Afghanistan. And it's a humiliation for NATO. I mean, it really is. The Taliban beat NATO.
More than 450 British lives have been lost in Afghanistan. More than 2,000 American, tens of thousands of Afghan civilians have died. The cost has been put at something over $2.25 trillion.
Taliban wants to make a deal, and we're meeting with them, and we're saying it has to be a ceasefire. They didn't want to do a ceasefire, but now they do want to do a ceasefire, I believe. It probably work out that way.
The Taliban has confirmed to Al Jazeera that some meetings have been taking place to pave the way for the resumption of talks.
The Taliban are gaining ground. The militants say they've taken more than 10 districts over the past day. They now control about a third of the country. Meanwhile, it's been confirmed that the US military left Bagram airfield, its key base in Afghanistan, without notifying the Afghans.
But yes, day after day now over the past week, there have been reports of dozens of districts tumbling to the Taliban right across Afghanistan.
On March 10, the US began withdrawing troops from Afghanistan after signing a peace agreement with the Taliban. Nearly 2 decades on, the US has pledged to withdraw its forces from Afghanistan, making a deal with the Taliban that now controls more territory than ever since the 2001 invasion. On the American side, more than 2,000 service members have died and over 20,000 were wounded during the conflict. In March 2020, the US and the Taliban signed an agreement aimed at withdrawing US forces and spurring the start of intra-Afghan talks.
A historic peace deal signed
Between the US and the Taliban.
In Doha, Qatar,
As the last US and UK troops head home from Afghanistan.